Here we go. We are being live streamed now. Welcome everybody to a glorious week 100. We are here. We're live, and we are excited to be with y'all once again, and for y'all to invite us into your homes to enjoy these beautiful wines together with amazing men, Dr. Richard Becker and Dr. Joe Becker, that have made this amazing product here all together. Just got to be able to share these. So double golds, we are sharing double golds today on Texas Independence Day. So happy Texas Independence Day, everybody. And so today, through the tasting lineup today, we have the 2019 Viognier Reserve, or not Viognier Reserve, the Viognier that's in distribution, excuse me, which that one won a double gold this last year. Then we have the 2019 Malbec Reserve from Talent Vineyards, and then a really special wine as well with that, the 18 Wilmeth Family Cab Reserve, which is the last bit that we have. So there is no more. So what we are enjoying together right now is what we got. So really glad to share this with y'all. So Dr. Becker, I'd love to hear a few words with the week 100 that we are on now, and kick this off.
Well, gosh, where to start? What an amazing journey this has been. 100 weeks of sharing our wines with you all, of spending time with you all, of discussing wines. And I have to say, one of the well-kept secrets of being a physician is that we probably get more out of the interactions with our patients sometimes than our patients do. And certainly I felt that way with these tastings, that it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience to be going through all of the hard times that we've been going through, but being able to share wines with you, Bobby, or John, or Rachel, or our growers, or Monster, of course, Monster. And I hope that it has been a wonderful respite, distraction from everything that's going on in the world. I think I would just say it's been wonderful to we get daily emails from my children's school about number of cases and exposures, and we've now had about a week of 0 cases, 0 exposures, which is, I think, miraculous. And I know it's hard, but I feel blessed that you all continue to spend these weekdays, these hours with us. Dad?
Same here. Just, this, people still fighting this battle. Our hats off to them for sure. But maybe there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We don't get a new variant mutation, but maybe we can come away from this in our country. The rest of the world, we hope we'll be able to provide vaccine for them. The whole planet needs to be free. Anyway, what a treat! And it's for me. I was just thinking about what Joe was saying, that how impressed I've been with the palates of the people.
Yeah,
like Bobby and Kaylin and John, of course, and Rachel. But this has been just a different way to get to know the people that I've worked with, and that's been fun.
I just want to say, I really appreciate this comment from Gary Clark, who says, 100 feels like just yesterday we were learning mask wearing 101. How true that is. Anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. And how we're just growing from all this. We're learning, we're getting to enjoy, each other's company, like you said, Joe, which is amazing. Just to get to know each other, but also, the people that love to come out to the winery, getting to build relationships with our members, just kind of, doing something new, seeing, how everybody can pair different things, different foods. The education side is amazing, which I love geeking out about that. And then, the winemaking side as well, which is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And, let's just begin with this phenomenal Viognier. I mean, what a great wine this is. Before John arrived, no gold or double gold medals from San Francisco. Now scores. To have three in one tasting, so different, Viognier, Malbec, and Cab. What a thrill. But, part of our inspiration was to plant and grow and make Viognier in the hill country. And here it is. And it's wonderful. Bobby, tell us what you're smelling and tasting, and that's always fun to hear for me.
Right. So the nose is just so great. I mean, just the floral characteristic comes out immediately. A little bit of that lemon, kind of lemon zest, almost like a beeswax characteristics as well. Hints of a little bit of I don't know if it's a coriander that it kind of showcases.
I have to say, I think it's really fun to be drinking Viognier on our 100th virtual tasting because I feel like for a number of reasons, but what the journey of Viognier in Texas has been amazing. I think John's won some amazing awards for it, but it was your idea, Dad, to plant Viognier in Texas, thinking that our climate was very similar to that of the Rhone Valley. And I remember you were in the early 90s when I think you were probably thinking about this, or late 80s. We were tasting those wonderful. I wasn't yet.
I think he was actually.
But those wonderful Kieslers, that you were. I remember you were trying to find the best grape for this climate. Trying to find the grape. And amazingly, people talk about Tempranillo being a Texas grape, but I feel like Viognier is, knowing that we won along with two other Texas wineries, gold, silver, and bronze in a competition in Lyon, France in 2015, in which they only gave one gold, one bronze, one silver, and the three Texas wineries took that home. So I think it's a great story.
That was our Paris tasting. We call it the Lyon tasting, but lots of fun. But this wine is, I guess if I think I have a memory for wine and what it tastes like, what I've tasted before, and this is just as good as the very best we've ever made. And I love that it's been acknowledged with double gold in San Francisco. That's a thrill for me. But
and to be able to share this with the mass market, not just people that just make the trip and the time to come out, they can actually enjoy this, in their stores, which is so great to be able to have something of this quality available, which is amazing.
So Bobby, I'm gonna put you on the spot because this is our 100th tasting, and you have a wonderful palate. It's been wonderful to hear your thoughts, but you have worked with us for a long time. Really, just absolutely done a wonderful job. Helped working in our tasting room, being our media guy. I remember coming into tasting rooms and seeing you just want to jump over the bar to help people. You've just always been such a bright, knowledgeable. I'd be curious to hear about your experience. Were you interested in wine when you worked for us? So
it's all been OJT, all the way through. Originally, this was supposed to be a weekend gig. I was working full-time oil and gas industry, just a little small mom and pop shop here in Fredericksburg. And my wife and I knew nothing about wine at all. So I hope you're not offended, but you can kind of see the project of where I'm at now. But all we drank before, to taste and enjoy, was Barefoot and Flip Flop Moscato. That was that's our extent of knowledge of wine. But when I got introduced to Becker's by a friend and invited out to have an opportunity to work with y'all on the weekends, it was just I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm. I loved how everybody was there to enjoy. It's kind of a vacation, something to get away and to provide an experience for these people to come and enjoy, which is it just I fell in love with it. Um, so to hear y'all's passion about wine and the team together about the just the centuries of winemaking and the processes and the romantic side of the tasting and the smelling of it. It's kind of gotten me. I got bit by the bug, and I just couldn't go back. Really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to be a part of this amazing team and to hear the stories. It makes me feel really humble to be part of something that has such a great reputation. Cheers to y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we planted the first Viognier, I guess, in the front vineyard, and right next to where we turned to drive in, and gosh, it was always good. The fruit is you can really smell Viognier when it's getting ripe when you drive through the vineyard. It is such a rich aromatic characteristic. And we made a trip to Condrieu and to Chateau Grillé, which was considered the great famous Viognier house, and met Madame Grillé. And I've told that story before, but that's always been an inspiration for us. And so it's fun to see a Viognier that we put in bottles that I think rivals. I really think it beats. I think we make the best, not just us, but in Texas, we make the best Viognier in the world in Texas. And it's just incredible, it's incredibly fragrant and rich and aromatic, and it has essence of peach and nectarine and wonderful citrus notes and white flower. It's a great wine. It's a rare wine.
It truly is a distinct aroma. I always love to think about the Fredericksburg peaches, but when it's harvested and the juice is sitting in the bins before it's about to be pressed, it's just a wonderful, distinct aroma. It's a beautiful grape.
Really is. I mean, the aromatics on it when you're walking through the vineyard or through the winery when they're in those bins, it's almost overwhelming. just to smell just that fruit, and it's amazing. You just want to kind of dive in, but you gotta save a bunch. But I think it's amazing. So when we do have those tours and whatnot, we try to keep those doors open and have that smell. But we try to cover up the fermentation aspect when you come in and you start smelling kind of the fermenting fruit is like, that's a different day. But when we get the fruit in, it's beautiful.
Genetically, this grape is related to Nebbiolo. It shares a fair amount of its genetic information. So
Really?
It's a cross probably between Nebbiolo and something. First discovered around the city of Viognier, and that's why it's called Viognier. But it's been around for a while, and it has all the aromatic richness that Riesling has. Jancis Robinson's favorite, she says, the best wine grape is Riesling, and part of it is the aromatic, and I think this as a white grape rivals Riesling, also white grape. But
Well, I know Viognier is typically blended in with red Rhone blends as well, right? So like Châteauneuf de Pape will typically have Viognier blended in there as well. Which I believe that we have blended some of our Viognier in past vintages of Prairie Rôti.
Yeah, I believe we have, and I think John's used it in a number of wines in that way. And it interestingly, it doesn't diminish the bright red fruit, but somehow it enhances it. There's something in it that just makes the aroma more lively and the fruit flavor brighter.
And I'm looking at my phone because Rachel has sent me the tasting notes on it. It's an interesting blend of our of the great Viognier vineyards in Texas. You know, it's 40% come from the Bingham vineyards, and then 20% from Jet Wilmeth's Diamante Doble, 20% from a separate block of the Binghams, the Old Place Vineyard, and then 20% from VJ Ready. Those are kind of the 27 Yankees of Viognier Vineyards in Texas.
That's right.
And if you look at the oak aging is interesting too. So John has aged, 87% of this is tank aged, but the remaining percent is French Allier oak. 0.12% interestingly is American oak. John must have done that to give it some balance, and with mostly being new oak and some 1, 2 and neutral. So kind of an interesting blend. And of course, the tasting notes have written all over it that this was the Texas Class Champion gold in Houston, and as well as a double gold in the recent San Francisco Chronicle competition. So really a amazing grape. Amazing that it's done so well in Texas.
Really is. So on that topic of double gold, so in the San Francisco Chronicle, it's what, around 40 something judges, 48 judges,
Right.
and they're tasting through thousands of wines.
Yes, from all over the world.
Yeah, that's insane. And then for them to be able to say all together unanimously that it is a gold medal, that they score it at a peak where they all say, yeah, this is gold, then that's the double gold.
Through 3 rounds of tasting, absolutely. There would be. I mean, somebody asked this question several tastings ago. What are these? How do these awards mean? How much do we use them? For those major competitions like San Francisco, where it is predominantly industry peers, that really, as John says, that's really the Super Bowl for us. So, and yeah,
huge. That is huge. Wonderful.
I think, Dad, when you always talk about that great tasting that you had at La Pyramide, which is in yeah. And you must have tasted some great Viogniers. Or
I did, but I wasn't knowledgeable enough to know which was which. But we had lunch outside in this restaurant called the Pyramid, and it's an obelisk about 40 feet tall that marked the turn in a Roman amphitheater or raceway. There was an enormous racetrack all around that area, and this was the turn at one end. This obelisk, this stone obelisk, and the restaurant there is where Nouvelle Cuisine began. And in the first paragraph of Robert Mondavi's autobiography, he said, "I never understood food and wine pairing until I had lunch at Pyramid." And I had the same. I didn't know anyone else had that thought, but I certainly did. I had it too. And I was so pleased to read that. But we ate outside. It was about 102 degrees, and we were under big plane trees. And so I told the sommelier that we're planning Viognier in Texas, and I'm trying to learn the nuances of Viognier. And he said, "Sir, I'm going to bring you probably a 5-course lunch, and each course will be paired with a different expression of Viognier from this region." And I wish I'd been more knowledgeable, I would have known this and this and this, but I didn't. So, but I can just tell you it was amazing, really good, and a lot of herbal things and white fish and just wonderful lunch.
That's
and
amazing.
It didn't seem hot.
Right.
I had a sports coat. They wouldn't let me have lunch without a sports coat. So just like John, I've never seen John. Oh, John doesn't have a sports coat. Anyway.
Like last week.
Hey, last week was an exception to the rule.
That was extraordinary.
Right.
I'm wearing the shirt that makes me look like I weigh 500 pounds. Which wine am I joining you with?
Well,
The 19
the
Viognier.
19 Viognier is so good. I mean, whoosh.
It's
I think anyone who likes
outstanding.
wine and tastes this wine would love it. I mean, you just can't not like this wine.
Bobby, we can't let Doc wax eloquent for 30 minutes on each wine.
Well, I
I mean,
really
that-
believe so.
This is what got it all started. So, I mean, there is a passion behind it,
There is a history there, absolutely.
right?
You know,
So,
it was probably my mother's favorite of our wines,
Mhm.
and my wife Emily loves it. So I always feel like it's it's a lot. It's clearly the smarter people in the family recognize that it's a good one.
Don't put me on that list.
Well-
Joe, one thing I love about Becky, Bunny, is that every time I tried to make a smart aleck comment to her, I'd get the look.
yeah.
Like-
Oh,
So, showcasing this at the winery. Was that?
I was just gonna say, John, it was interesting. I was looking at the barrel, and I noticed you put a very small percentage in American oak. You had predominantly Allier,
It was a mistake.
0.12%.
well, and yes, the neutral American oak. So we did use a little bit. I will use American white oak in white wine if it's 5 or more years neutral. So
Okay.
yeah, but it's a very tiny amount. The beautiful thing about, so when you see those technical tasting notes from our software, is they track everything, even including our topping. Like if I put 100 mils in 500 barrels, it'll give me 0.00093% kind of thing. So it will not let me gloss over things that I'd rather gloss over.
It's there. It's on the paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this showcasing Viognier, I always tell people that it's a red drinker's white wine. I mean, that's kind of what it's been known for, that it's referenced as, and a lot of people that don't typically enjoy white wines will gravitate towards Viognier, our Viognier, when we showcase it. And so can you expound on that? The red drinker's white wine? What?
Well, I will tell you what I tell everybody that tells me they only drink red wine. I tell them, I'm sorry you don't enjoy wine. So, white wine, it will really, honestly, Bobby, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it smells like it's going to be sweet. Those florals, the coriander, those brown spices that are in there, they give this edge to Viognier that people are not expecting in a white wine. But at the same time, they're like, well, they're so floral, and yet brown spice, is it going to be a sweet wine? And you're like, no, it's bone dry. And that's what really red wine drinkers, hardcore red wine drinkers, enjoy: the dry wine. They enjoy pairing it with the foods that can carry that. And Viognier can do that. Viognier absolutely has, not as much as a red wine, but has the ability to pair with some mildly fatty foods. I mean, you can figure your heavier fishes, but even pork will go well with Viognier. Some pork dishes will. It can hold up to, I think it can hold up to beef under the right circumstances. I don't think it'll hold up to like a prime rib, but it really is a nice white wine. It also is a good transition if you're gun shy on white wines. It's a nice wine to be able to take into account, and add to your repertoire of wines. It's a very easy drinking wine too, and it's a wine that doesn't need anything. You can sit down with friends and or family. Though why you want to sit with family and drink when you can drink with your friends, I don't know.
Well, how else are you supposed to sit with family?
Yeah, right.
Depending on the family, it helps.
I don't know, Doc.
I would add two things. I would say, number one, Lane Schuhart says that he's having sea trout. I'm headed over there later. If you'll send me your, no, I'm kidding.
Right.
That would be a wonderful pairing with Viognier.
Yeah.
And then second thing is that I feel like in Texas, as Texans have become more into tasting, trying, buying wine, I think Viognier in my opinion, was a big factor in that, because I think it brought a lot of people who were just red wine drinkers, to the table to trying these different wines.
Well, I'm going to do my best to embarrass your dad, our boss. But to be honest with you, I really don't think our industry would be where it is right now with Viognier in particular, had Doc not tried to risk it after being told not to grow it.
Sweet wine.
Yeah. Well, it's those little steps that make a difference. You've got a passion for it, do it, people will follow it. And honestly, if you make it, Viognier for a white wine is fairly forgiving when you do, vinify it. It really is a wine that allows you to make a few rookie mistakes. And I hate to say this after 25 years, but every year I make some rookie mistake somewhere along the line. It's like, I got the temperature too high, or, we let it sit a little too long. We should probably get it going, that kind of thing. But unlike, some of the other more fickle white wines, Chardonnay is not as forgiving. Neither is Sauvignon Blanc, but both of those have distinctive palates, distinctive followers too. Viognier, I think, appeals to a broad palate. And of course, I am a Rhone. I love Rhone wines from start to finish, red and whites, all the way across the board.
Nice.
And John, in the 60s, I think I read only about 6 acres of Viognier planted in the United States.
Yeah, back in the 60s. Yeah, I mean, it was, they were ripping it out in France too. I mean,
And 20 or 30 acres in Condrieu.
Yeah.
Primarily Chateau Grillet, I think.
Right. And that's beautiful because we're going right through the Condrieu on our cruise this summer. Our wine host cruise. For those of you who have not signed up with it, you might want to get on the bandwagon.
Yes.
Yeah.
One question was from Brian Strohmeyer asking about he's asking what ripeness do we usually harvest our Viognier? Do you mind commenting on that?
No, I don't mind at all. It's none of your business, Brian. No.
Trade secret.
I know, right? There's going to be people with pitchforks and torches at the winery tomorrow. We actually, Brian, we go for a higher end. And I've argued with really good viticulturists and wine growers over this over and over again. I prefer my Viognier over 24 bricks. There is the most fickle thing about Viognier, and it's one of the few grapes that you can really see the correlation of bricks and phenolic ripeness. Most other things can be phenolically ripe and the bricks can be low or high, but Viognier to me at 22 and a half, 23, where people would love to pick it, you're losing out on most of that perfume, most of those subtle brown spice notes that you'll get from a fully ripe Viognier. So that's where we target it. And our pHs come in rather high because of that, 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 on those grapes. But I think it's well worth it.
They were from their mother's womb, phenolically ripened. No, wait.
Wow. So what took me so long, and I apologize to everybody for running late. I was trying to get a hold of Vladimir Putin to invite him on our cruise in France, and I had to get permission from the EU.
As long as he doesn't make a surprise arrival with some kind of.
All right.
Well, like they say, he always likes to come in with a bang.
With the entourage.
Yeah, exactly. His entourage. Yeah. I did see on eBay though, some of the very industrious Ukrainians are offering used Russian tanks for sale for 400,000 on eBay. And honest to God, I'm not making this up. The IRS version of the Ukrainian government, their tax department, did announce today that Ukrainians did not need to declare any Russian hardware they kept as income.
This is good.
And so this is why you.
I just saw that Paul Gingrich is watching. So Paul, if you're out there, a big hearty hello to you. I know you've watched some of these before, but Paul, you were one of our much beloved tasting room people and friend. So anyways, good to see you.
Same here, Ron. Gosh, yes.
And this is why we tune in for current events. by the Becker family.
And I know Paul loved Viognier. I know for sure. So I'll never forget the Sauvignon Blanc though that he served me at Saint-Sucre. It was whoosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That special vineyard. I'm blocking on the name, but it's
Was it the Saint Cyprien? Was it the Dollarhide Ranch that we?
Dollarhide Ranch. Yes,
Yeah.
Dollarhide. Yes, yeah. Boy, that's good. Woo.
Wow.
Oh goodness.
I just can't get over this Viognier. Just the nose and
It's
just
lovely. And I want to know who allowed you into the warehouse to raid the 19 Viognier. Hasn't been released yet.
He's a descendant of the Emperor Probus, John, as you'll remember in 231, brought this grape from Dalmatia to the region of Viam, and that's really where it began. So
Well,
just
when,
keep that in mind.
I will, but I just have one question for you because you mentioned this all the time. So what was it that led you guys to think the soil there would be good for that?
It just looked like the hill country in Texas when I told the Emperor. He said, "Where's that?" I said, "I'll get to that later."
Yeah, we'll get to it in a while.
you have to be a visionary.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go to Malbec.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
absolutely. Oddly enough, it smells like Cabernet. I think I grabbed the wrong glass.
Wait. Margaret, you love Viognier. Any thoughts from you?
Margaret's there and we haven't been able to talk to her.
Oh, there she is.
Hey, you're finally starting to wear some real clothes there, Margaret. Those are beautiful. That's a beautiful shirt.
I said.
Viognier is also my favorite.
There you
And
go.
So,
Another intelligent woman that likes Viognier.
and I like Viognier on the porch, just sipping and watch the sun setting. I believe in this 100%. It is wonderful.
I agree.
Cool.
Now that I know you're there, I can start. I will include you in some of the. I tell you what, though, the nose on this Malbec's kind of nice.
Really is.
You know, this almost smells like it was a championship wine.
I think so.
Yeah.
Smells like the saddle.
Smells like the saddle. Hey,
Depends on who's
speaking of
buying
which, buddy, where's that saddle that you were supposed to pick up?
So
Margaret, what do you think of the wine? No, I'm kidding.
yeah. I had someone ask that this week. Said, we saw that saddle, and what do you think? Said, if it was me, I'd let my kids be playing on it right now. So
It's coming.
Well, it is with David Bryce, so
well, no questions asked.
there you go.
Okay, who's going to lead off this wonderful nose? Bobby, what are you getting in the nose?
I'm just getting such a jammy plum.
Mhm.
Just a rich jam. A little bit of vanilla kind of showcases right on the finish. Oh, some nice raspberry and
Mhm.
a little bit of currant.
Mhm.
So, John, the question is it named for the Hungarian winemaker who brought it to France?
When Dad was in high school.
But I was in high school longer than most people. So,
Thanks, Joe. Almost choked.
A lot to learn to be a Renaissance man.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Well, does anybody else? So one of the things I love about Malbec, one, the pyrazines are rather subdued in Malbec, or I shouldn't say subdued. They take on a whole different character versus Cab or Merlot. But to me, Malbec always has a bit of an mincemeat nose to it, and that's what I really like. And I think there's a fair amount of sweet brown spice to it. By that I don't, it's when I say that, and I know people have asked me this before. I'm talking about like some of the common cooking brown spices like allspice, cinnamon, clove, coriander.
Lots of
things like
that. Lots of colloquialisms.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
You know,
always,
Merlot and Malbec are both descended from a kind of, I guess, a native grape called Madeleine Noir in
Mhm.
France, genetically. So, and Merlot is it's kind of the pater or mater familias of lots of different grapes. So they're linked together, and that's interesting, I think, because of they both have a lot of richness on the palate and the nose.
right.
Right.
So I just want to, this is also an interesting blend, John, and I'll again, thank you, Rachel. So this is all
All
talent.
talent. Mhm.
Yeah, so 83% talent Malbec,
Mhm.
7% talent Tannat,
Mhm.
6% talent Petit Syrah, and then I guess 2 separate blocks of Petit Verdot, each at 2%.
Right.
And predominantly American oak.
Yes.
From Missouri, it looks like.
Yeah.
Am I reading that?
A vast majority of our American oak comes from Missouri. We do have a very tiny amount from Minnesota and Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, I can't find any from Oregon currently, but I've dealt with Oregon American oaks, pretty interesting. But Missouri, especially in and around Higbee, Missouri, there's a family that supplies all the American oak to Demtos, and they've been in that business for 120 years. They started off with storage barrels, whiskey barrels, then wine barrels. But they do a wonderful job of sustainable farming their property down there in southern Missouri. Got to meet them a few times. They're fantastic. If you want to geek out on barrels, those are the guys to geek out with. But the oak, the way they cure it, they cure it 36 months out in the weather. They stack the rough cut planks of the quarter sawn wood stacked out for 36 months before they finish it in barrels. And Doc, you and Margaret were at Demtos just a few weeks ago, about a month ago. So you could see that it literally comes out of the field to there, and you saw the product. There's nothing, they did not hide any of that process from you. It's pretty straightforward on the milling and assembly. And Joe and I were there a couple of years ago and got to see that process. It's fascinating. It's out.
That process is over 2,000 years old. I mean, the Phoenicians developed all that. The Romans, before the Phoenicians really, they began oak barrels first. And but the technique for building them and charring them, and that's ancient and unchanged.
Right. Well, so this oak, we have a lot to thank, honestly, Silver Oak, especially the original winemaker, the monk winemaker. He developed how to use American oak in red wine, specifically Bordeaux winemaking. Prior to that, not a lot of people understood it. He played with it a long time and came up with basically what was the standard on what to do, how to use American oak so that you get those sweeter characteristics out of it. And prior to that, there was a lot of those bitter lignans left over in the oak. So we really learned a lot over the last 50 years, but it's been in the last 25, 30 years that American oak has really started to shine in our industry. And it does very well with red wines like Bordeaux varietals and Tempranillo Iberian varietals too.
And I called him, and I, because I admired, I didn't know, my knowledge was not as sophisticated as yours, but I liked his vine. And I knew he used only American oak, and I knew I couldn't afford a lot of French oak barrels, John. So
I really wish you would have told me that last week.
But so here's this, obscure, nobody's ever heard from, was trying to make wine in Texas, calling in the 1994 or 5, saying, I love your wine. Would you share your Cooper with me? And I probably told you the story, but he said, sure. And he gave me his name and phone number, and, after a long conversation. And so I called the Cooper in Higbee, and he said, why he would give you this number. I sold all my barrels to him. I don't have any extra barrels, except for sale. And I said, well, let's talk. And so an hour later, he said, I'll sell you 5 barrels. Don't tell anybody. You've heard the story. But anyway.
Well,
But I love the A&K barrels, always
Yeah.
have.
yeah, the A&K barrels are good, and unfortunately, they, when he retired, I guess fortunately for him, I mean, Silver Oak bought A&K, Dale, when he retired. And what I loved meeting him from A&K, he and his son, when they come down, they actually, they may or may not have brought me a little bottle of moonshine that they made on the side. So
They sent me a little keg of moonshine, John.
yeah,
Was
yeah.
it made in these barrels?
They
Yeah,
in a little
well,
barrel.
They
probably
did,
20
yeah. It
barrels.
was, and it was corn whiskey. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny. But
I think it was good. I can't remember. It's all gone.
yeah. Well, and I'm pretty sure that you could use it in surgery.
So John, I want to ask, I feel like this is such a great blend of what we can do with red grapes in Texas. You have, our favorite blending grape, Petit Verdot, which is like when Dad poured 2 cups of heavy cream into Uncle Robert's fishy swaz the other night. It added a lot of body and fullness and some richness.
And it drained the expression from Robert's face.
I bet it did.
He looked like he passed away.
But what made you think?
Don't do that. Oh, okay.
What made you think about adding Tanat?
Well, Tanat I like for structure, Joe. I mean, honestly, a little bit of Tanat. There's a nice Tanat in the U.S. and Tanat overall is extraordinarily tannic. In the U.S., it displays more of a black tea flavor edge. Down in Uruguay, Tanat displays more of a blueberry edge. And those are both the same Pierzine groups. It's just where they're grown and how they're cultivated that causes them to come out. So for Malbec, it was just a small amount to give it a little underpinning of structure. Malbec's very velvety, very, it can have a little bit of mid palate, but it usually hits you on 1 and 2 and 5 and 6. And so you want something in the middle, and just a small amount of something in the middle. And Merlot does that. Tanat does that. I mean, Cab can do that if you want to go that route. But I thought the Tanat for this particular vintage year, the Tanat seemed to match the profile with the Malbec a lot better.
Really cool.
Yeah,
And it's interesting too when you mentioned the tannins. I mean, the tannins are very smooth in this wine. They're not.
John, the dark chocolate, the unsweetened, or the dark chocolate and the coffee is not so forward in this.
No.
And why is that?
Well, to me, the dark coffee and the chocolate and stuff, that's more indicative of Cab Franc. And we have used Cab Franc in Malbec blends before. I mean, Cab Franc does offer something there in small quantity. It's not to say that Malbec can't have a little coffee or chocolate edge to it. And it certainly can. Drew's tends to have more of that mincemeat character, the brown spice character, and more of the smooth, the developed Pierzine, the tea, not quite chocolate, not quite bell pepper edge, and kind of a little more subdued. So that's why you're not going to see it. Now with the Canada's Malbec, you'll get a lot more of that chocolate and tobacco edge to it. Jet's Malbec has a heck of a lot of coffee and earth to it. And Steve Newsom's Malbec had a little more green unrefined, so it was a little more bell peppery with just a hint of kind of leather and or coffee edge to it. So you get all these Malbecs from different areas. So you got to really taste through them. Yeah. But I have always loved Drew and Drew's fruit, and his sense of humor is absolutely fantastic. But Drew's fruit, there is something really, really special about those hickory sands that he's growing his fruit on up there. It just has a flavor profile like no other.
It really does.
Yeah. I don't want to ever tell him that I want to call it the Reserve Vineyard, because we just don't want to tell him how good it is. But it, to be honest, we made multiple years of the old Raven with Drew's Malbec. Drew's Malbec has appeared in a lot of our championship wines. Not all of them, but quite a few. And this Malbec was basically an homage to Drew's talent and Drew's fruit. And not to sell Rachel short, she has been monitoring this vineyard. She's been taking care of this vineyard. She has been vinifying this fruit. And then I come in at inopportune times and completely change things around on her. Well, just for the simple fact that, not that she needs me to, but yeah. So, it's a wonderful vineyard to deal with. It really is.
Yeah.
So, and it's hill country fruit. So we get this red wine in early in the year. So we have we can spend a lot more time with it early on, so we're not as busy when this red fruit comes in. So, and it shows, I think. So
yeah,
a lot of good attention.
And just before we move on, I just want to say this is one of our beloved labels. So this is a picture of I won't say first wine club member because I think it's a little controversial, but from John Heber. This is his. The name of this cow is BBR Rawhide, apparently. So,
Yes, rawhide.
But it, known unofficially as Yardard.
Here we go.
there you go. Texas Independence Day.
there you go.
Oh.
So-
When is Texas Independence Day?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. I'm kind of picking up a little bit of almost like a white pepper on the nose
Yes.
as well. That's kind of just sneaks in there on the edge.
It does. It absolutely does. And any pepper notes are those pyrazines coming out as the way they display. So, but,
Right.
chocolate, coffee, bell pepper, grass, white pepper, black pepper, all the same group.
Nice.
And I want to raise a little toast to Trish Fullerton, who actually designed a wonderful netting system for vineyards and got a patent on it. And I'm so proud of her for that. I see she's watching tonight. And,
Trish. Well, I haven't talked to Trish in a while.
Hello, Trish.
Hello,
Cheers.
Trish. Was it something I said? You didn't come back to the winery.
probably, John, it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's probably like, I don't need to put up with you anymore.
I think you could. I think you could make an argument that Trish was probably our first unofficial wine club member. She's just always been an amazing friend and supporter of the winery. So absolutely,
Yeah, she's one of the founders of the Texas wine industry.
exactly.
All these other guys lining up to get awards. It's Trish.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I finally, after the first few, I don't know, it was the first few months we were doing this, Trish swung by the winery to pick up some wine and got to meet her finally. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, it was very nice.
Awesome.
I really enjoy this Malbec. So,
We'll go right ahead. I'm having the cab, John, and I recommend it. So
As we, I would just share one thing as we transition to the cab to try and tie everything together. But when I was in high school and we were first starting, and Dad and I had worked all day. I think we were putting in posts in the vineyard, and I were clearing the land, and we'd worked all day, and Mom had completely cleaned up, fixed up the back cabin, and then that night, and also John Thomas of Wild Seed Farms had planted the backfield behind our back cabin in Indian blankets.
Gaillardia. Yeah.
And it was Dad was barbecuing, and I think you had brought some of your older California cab, and Trish was there, and John Thomas was there, and John's wife, and John's sort of first in command, Tim Prather. I will
exactly.
never forget that barbecue that night. And so it's so fun for me to think that we're about to taste a wonderful Cabernet, probably very similar to some of the older Cabernet that you brought that night before we'd even really gotten, we really harvested, really fermented. It's fun for me.
Before we really found John.
Before we
Right,
found, that's right.
Now, you did have Penny.
Thank you.
The funniest story about that cabin, though, and so we decided we were going to plant a vineyard. There were no vines around us anywhere near. Great Creek had a few, but not many. We're going to put a vineyard in, and so I said, we should invite all of our German neighbors and just to get to know them, and so we were looking at all the names around us, and we could get all their numbers. And the funny thing was that. Well, maybe some people thought that, but this is too many people. Let's just be more selective who we invite. I said, you better invite all of them. So we invited everybody, and they all came for barbecue on the back patio. And we were talking about how many people we should invite. They said, you did the right thing. We're all intermarried. If you leave any one of us out, so it's all one family, basically.
And Trisha's right. You had done rack of lamb.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
she just said. Yeah.
Lamb lollipops.
Nice.
Lamb lollipops. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when are
Also,
we gonna-
I'll also say, let me say one more thing, just thinking of Trish, just thinking of great women in the Texas wine industry. One of my other favorite memories from that back cabin was our very first harvest. And Penny Adams was our winemaker that summer, where she was there advising and helping.
And
Viticulturist. Viticulturist. And she had brought her two sons, Dean and Adam. And we'd all gone to bed knowing that we were going to have to awaken probably around 4:30 in the morning to start hand harvesting grapes in Texas because it gets too hot. Around 10 o'clock, you have to stop. And my cousin was there, my cousin Andrew, my best friend, and the most amazing meteor shower, shooting stars I had ever seen was that night. And but I also remember, and poor Penny's two sons, Dean and Adam, unfortunately got very sick that night.
Oh.
But I remember she was just such a bright, and still is a bright, wonderful, smiling, happy presence in the wine industry. And I think about Dad barbecuing that night, and getting I always got the most wonderful sleep in that back cabin. It was so dark, it was so cozy. So anyways.
That's still my runaway spot during the middle of harvest for lunch. Quiet. Yeah.
Believe that. Yeah, mine too. Boy.
So, Ryan Thomas is still involved with our vineyard, He's running his crew and helping us prune still. So, and I absolutely love Penny as well. She was very welcoming to me when I first arrived, met her. There are a lot of really good people in this industry that were extraordinarily, I guess, generous with their time and very, very genuine about, I think you'll like it here. This is what we do. This is where we want to go, that kind of thing. So, and Penny was one of those. So, very
That's
nice.
so cool.
Yeah. But what I want to know is when we're going to make Doc Becker's old fashioned wild grape bitters that cures every stomach ache known to man. Was it the wild cherry or the wild grape port that they were making around here for stomach ailments?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, you have a story on that.
I did hear something about that.
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I said, what was it, wild cherry or was it wild grape that people made like a port-like wine here for stomach problems?
Black cherry?
Well, there's a black cherry that grows wild in Gillespie County, and they're very big trees. They're like almost as big as a pecan, and they're not quite that big, but they're close. And they make a little hard black cherry that the Germans made into wine, and it's fairly bitter, fairly tart, but they used it to treat gastrointestinal disorders. And I'll never forget one. I've told this story. I think I told this on our first broadcast 100 weeks ago.
100 weeks.
One of the neighbor, Mr. Yansky, was about 90, and he came over, knocked on our back door one Sunday morning, and the cabin would restore in the back at 7 o'clock. And and I said, "Oh," he said, "Well, I've come to tell you a wine story." So so I said, "Let me just step outside." So he said that across Shinsky Lane, a little girl was dying of dysentery, and Dr. Feller, who was the physician in San Antonio, in that old hospital, which is now a bar, I think, or a restaurant, had told the family, "I've done almost all that I can do. I don't really have any other treatment." I'm quoting Mr. Yinsky, and except the only thing that might possibly would help her be some of that wild cherry wine. Well, Mr. Yinsky was known to be the best producer of wild cherry wine. He was Benno's father. And so he said every morning Benno got up and would take a small stone container of wine with a towel over the top and walk the half mile across to their farm and deliver this. He fresh every morning. And as Benno said, not only did she survive, doctor, but she's 85 years old right now, lives right across the road. So he said, "You've got to try this." And I said, "I'd love to." And he didn't have any. But then when we were doing the rock work on our house, the stonemason brought me a bottle of wild cherry wine. And this story goes on, but we took it home, put it in the icebox. A year passed. It's in the back of the icebox.
Sure.
And I get terrible gastroenteritis. I never miss work. I hadn't been to work for 2 days. And I said to Bunny, after 2 days of this, that wild cherry wine in them. Let's try that. So she brought me a little glass. I drank it and I felt immediately much better. I said, "I'll have one more glass." And it cured me. But this is all true. And if we could just make that, we'd be ahead of the curve.
Head of the curve. Okay. Well, somebody just asked where we see the winery in 10 years.
Wild cherry wine.
There- For medicinal purposes or your own enjoyment.
Here's my answer to that. Here's my answer to that question. I saw that too, which is that that's a great question to ask, especially in our 100th tasting.
Mhm.
One of the things that I have loved is when I came back from finishing my medical training a little over 10 years ago, and Dad gave me the privilege of being able to come out and start sitting in with him and Mom in on the business meetings with our general manager and our winemaker at that time. It's been an absolute privilege, and it's and I slowly realized that so much of my life had happened out at the winery. Everything from riding horses to exploring the back with my dog to working out there in the summers with my best friends to first romantic crush to all of the major aspects of my life. And I just realized how much it meant to me. And so that's a huge part of me. And I have 3 small boys to share that with, 10, 7, and 4. And whether or not they'll have the same passion for it, I don't know, but I want them to feel like it's theirs and feel like it's a part of who they are too. So that means a lot to me. And I always think about, when Dad started this, because I always wanted to be a physician. I loved it when Dad would take me on rounds when I was little, and I would kind of hang out at the nurse's station while he saw patients. But I realized early on that I wanted to do that. And so I remember when he started this and we were planting grapes, I'm like, wait, I thought we were being a doctor and now we're planting grapes. It was
Illogical.
Yeah, surreal. And so when I think about the things in my life that I'm most proud of, marrying my wife, my 3 children, being a doctor, the winery, and getting to work with my dad is probably up there with that. So and I think the commitment to trying to make the best wine that we can in Texas, to making, because we have made wines in Texas that are world class, and John, that is your doing, and that's something that I want to keep doing. I think we're going to keep, no question, we can continue to do this.
Hey, maybe we can get Andrew Chalk to quote you.
I don't see that coming.
And then how about this cab?
Yeah.
Well, I did
Hey, great segue, Bobby.
Yeah. I did see that Jeff Cope is watching. He's also a friend. Hello, Jeff. We appreciate everything you do for the Texas wine industry. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I
Yes.
had really good dinner with Jeff this past year down in Houston, and got to spend some time with him. So, and he's been up the winery several times. So he's a wonderful guy, and he is the go-to guy if you want to learn anything about any other Texas wine. Absolutely.
Here's a great line. Gary Clark says, "So Nolan will wax poetic about dad and granddad in episode 1000."
He'll come on. In all fairness, he's only going to be 22 then.
So I will say that Nolan is the child of my family that cracks the most jokes about people. So I can't imagine, I don't even want to imagine what Nolan will have to say about me at episode 1000, but I love thinking about it.
So Nolan's going to be the winemaker.
Right. Well, Nolan is an Irish name, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so yes, to answer the question, we are onto the Cabernet now.
Yes.
So I've been sniffing it and tasting it. I'm just kind of like, you guys
It
can
is
talk
so
about
good, John. It is whoosh.
if we can keep doing this in 10 years, this is, I think, one of the best wines we've made. I love this 18 Wilmeth Cab.
Yeah, it's a nice cab. So it's 95% cab, and 2%, 5% Merlot, 2.5% from each of two different vineyards. But it's 95% Jets cab. So I think in 18 I had used the Jet Merlot to make a few other really good wines. Didn't have quite enough of this Merlot to put in there. So but the trials with all the Merlots, these turned out to be the best on the bench top. So it turns out that I think we made a good decision.
Which
Mhm.
glad we can enjoy this together, because this is it, the 18, as I mentioned earlier. This is
What an interesting, John, what an interesting blend. It's obviously 95% Jets Cab, but also 2.5% Talent Petit Verdot and 2.5% Ready Merlot.
Right.
What a cool blend.
But that 17 Ready Merlot was otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just something great about where Jet's Vineyard is. And I'm not sure if it's his dry sense of humor or that beautiful red West Texas dirt, but or a combination of both. But that fruit is so nice off of that vineyard.
Well, it's his pickup truck.
Yeah. You mean his Maserati? Because
Yes.
he's 130 miles an hour through the vineyard.
It's Texas Maserati, that's right.
Exactly. Oh goodness.
that's awesome. Yeah, or his Harley.
Yeah, his wife finally made him take it out of the living room. I don't know why.
So it's in the bedroom now?
Yeah, they made an overhead door for him just to drive right out.
Drive through. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is just the depth of flavor. The tannin structure is so beautiful on this. How it lingers. It just keeps wave after wave. It's really nice.
Right.
John, I want to ask you, you've tasted the great American Cabernets and for decades. It's about this wine and not comparing it so much in that context.
Well, it 18, and I know we talk a lot about how great 17 was, and not to diminish the fact that 17 was an excellent year. It was definitely a watershed year for the wine industry here in Texas. 18 was much more balanced. 17 had a lot of fully ripe phenolics, had these big, giant, chewy tannins, but 18 was a really well balanced year. And, so the part of the country where I learned how to make wine, far west Texas, out near the Pacific Ocean, there's a little AVA there called Rutherford, and there was a nice little tiny Eastern European winemaker who used to say, it takes Rutherford dust to make great Cabernet. Basically, it had a combination of some of the igneous as well as the limestone in that area. And if you really look at Texas, especially here in the hill country, we've got the hickory sands, those very, very old igneous rocks. I went on a 12.5-hour tour of the hill country, a geologic tour of the hill country with a private geologist guide who was sure to stop and point out all of these things for me so that I could become a better winemaker. Also, plus I had to drive her. But I think with the grapes here, Doc, especially from the 18, it just really, really reminded me of some of the best things out of 2002, 2005, and 2012 on the vintages for the West Coast. They just had this remarkable flavor to them as they came off the vine. So I would love to take credit for what Mother Nature does, but unfortunately, I'm not that good. I will take credit for how we handle it and that we didn't mess it up. And Jet managed to deliver these beautiful diamonds to us, and we managed to keep them from going south. So, but Pomerol. So I love Merlot, and I love Merlot and Cabernet. And I do like Petit Verdot. I don't think I like Petit Verdot as much as you guys like Petit Verdot. But I absolutely love a classic blend of Cab, a little bit of Merlot and Petit Verdot. I don't know why, it's just always appealed to me, but it has this beautiful, wonderful full mouth. It's very satisfying. And we were able to make this, was able to keep it soaking for a long time. I was able to make the Petit Verdot hot and the Cabernet medium cool and the Merlot on a cool side. So the temperature affects what flavors develop and what become dominant in that flavor profile. And it's just a 3 or 4 degree difference will affect how that happens. And so when all of the cellar guys look at me like I'm being schizophrenic because I'm constantly going back and forth on temperature on tanks and doing things, it's because of this. It's the one thing that we can do to help accentuate the flavors that exist in the berries. So
right.
In 18, we just happened to get it right. So
nice.
Yeah.
So on this road to double gold, I mean, from vine to bottle, I mean, this is just amazing. The passion that the growers take to that they have to produce amazing, immaculate fruit for us to be able to handle and make an amazing product out of it. I think it's a story that's just amazing. So love it.
Well, troops.
Yep.
Sante. Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys enjoying this with us. I know next week we've got a great lineup. So because us as Texans, cheers. Cheers.
Oh, and here it was. I forgot to make fun of Margaret for some reason. Margaret, I am so sorry. I have failed you.
No, you haven't. You made a fabulous wine.
These are
Fabulous.
beautiful.
So Bobby, so what's coming next week?
Yes.
Next week,
I can't
since
imagine how you're going to do this. Tell me what you're
us as Texans, we're finished with this cold weather, so I wanted to name it Spring into Spring. So kind of get ready into the warmer weather. So it will be the 3 vintages of Primavera. So we're going to do 2012, 2015, and 2018 vintages of the Primavera.
Oh, I want to take this.
It's going to be
Right.
really fun. Really
Much
wonderful
fun.
to enjoy those wines.
Perfect.
So cool.
Cheers.
Kind of looking
Thanks.
forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That was great.
Appreciate you guys.
Guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. Same
And here's
bat
to
time, same bat
104.
channel.
104, right?
There you go. Cheers.